I think I'm not alone in eagerly awaiting the release of a plastic Hetzer for Flames of War. The Hetzer or Jagdpanzer 38 was a light tank destroyer based on the Panzer 38T chassis. Its low silhouette and sloped armour make it a very pretty vehicle, popular with German players. The kit's sprue can also make the Marder III, an earlier tank destroyer also based on the 38T. Thanks go to the Restless Kaiser from Modelling for Advantage, who was kind enough to send this sprue through for me to review. Join me for a look. This is the Hetzer Tank Hunter Platoon box set for German Bagration forces. But it's more than that. This box lets you build several SP guns based on the 38T chassis. As well as the standard 7.5cm gun-armed Hetzer, you can build the flamethrower variant, or even the earlier Marder III SP anti-tank gun. The Marder series was a family of expedient tank destroyers created by mounting anti-tank guns on obsolete tank chassis. The Marder III paired the Panzer 38T chassis with an anti-tank gun. This was either a rechambered Russian 76.2mm gun or a German 7.5cm Pak 40. Marders were open-topped with just enough armour to protect the crew from small arms and shell splinters. This kit builds the 7.5cm armed Marder III Ausführung M, the last and most refined version of the vehicle. But Marder was still tall, and crew survivability of the open-top design was an issue. Inspired by the Romanian Maresal SP gun design, Germany used the reliable Panzer 38T chassis as the basis for the Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzer. Hetzer was a low-silhouette tank destroyer featuring sloped armour for increased protection. It mounted the 7.5cm Pak 39L48 anti-tank gun on a ball mount in the front glacis. This gun was enough to deal with most Allied armour in 1944. It was simpler and cheaper to produce than Jagdpanther or Jagdtiger, and its small size made it perfect for defensive ambushes. Entering service in July 1944, nearly 3,000 Hetzers were produced. 50 Flampanzer 38s were produced, mounting a flamethrower in place of the main gun. These were first used in the Battle of the Bulge. Despite being popular with crews, Hetzer had some drawbacks. It had thin side armour, limited ammunition stowage, limited gun traverse and poor internal layout. Some suspension components like leaf springs and road wheels were also prone to failure due to the weight of the gun and armour. Hetzer's design is a clear indication of the German army's switch away from blitzkrieg to fighting a defensive war in the later stages of the conflict. If we look at the back of the box, there's 3 pictures of completed kits and 2 assembly diagrams. The pictures show the 3 variants you can build: the 7.5cm Hetzer, the Flampanzer Hetzer and the Marder III M. The box has parts to build 5 tank destroyers plus a decal sheet. In a significant change of policy, there are no unit cards supplied. Battlefront's website indicates players should buy the Bagration unit card set instead. Having to buy a whole separate product to play the contents of the box set is annoying. I understand Battlefront is a business, but it feels particularly parsimonious to do this just after a price rise on box sets. It makes this product feel incomplete. With that complaint out of the way, let's look at the plastic. The parts come on 2 sprues of mustard yellow plastic. Mine are still together because this one came out of the Tank Hunter Army box, but the ones in the Platoon box will be separated. One sprue has all the parts for the Marder, while the other has the Hetzer parts, including the tracks and road wheels. Parts are the usual excellent Battlefront quality. Detail is plentiful, sharp and moulded in strong relief. The kit engineering is thoughtful and well organised. This is the Marder sprue. It has all the gun and hull parts to build the Marder III except the tracks. The 7.5cm Pak 40 gun has the large muzzle brake. There's also some stowed ammunition to add detail inside the fighting compartment. A lot of tool detail is moulded directly onto the fenders, which are moulded integral with the lower hull piece. This simplifies assembly and keeps the parts count low. There's keying for the suspension parts. This is identical for both sides, so technically you could fit the tracks on the wrong way round. I would recommend not doing that. Fit the toothed drive sprocket to the front. The upper hull has good hatch detail, with engine hatches and the circular driver's hatch clearly shown. The driver's hatch is moulded closed. Some spare track is moulded onto the hull. The other parts are the hull rear and sides of the fighting compartment. You'll need to use care fitting these together to avoid gaps at the joins. That's all the parts for the Marder minus the tracks. I know it doesn't make economic sense for Battlefront to include enough tracks to build both the Marder and the Hetzer, but it is frustrating to be so close to being able to build both. This is the Hetzer sprue. You can see it includes the one-piece track parts. You can also see the two gun options here. The short one is the flamethrower, while the longer one is the 7.5cm Pak-39. The Pak-39 also armed early versions of the Jagdpanzer IV, and uses the same ammunition as the long 7.5cm guns on Stugs, the Pak-40 and the Panzer IV. The tracks and road wheels are moulded as a single piece, with the leaf spring suspension arms visible in the void. Track detail is a bit simplified to just bars, but that's okay for this scale. Road wheels have strong and well-defined bolt detail that should dry brush up well. The back of the tracks have two-stage mounting pins for placement. This is required because the Hetzer has angled hull sides while the Marder's hull is straight. The two-stage option is a nice efficient engineering touch. The side skirts are also well engineered. They're moulded integral with the fender pieces, meaning there's no weak join here to fail during handling and play. The parts mount securely to the hull. The upper hull piece has plenty of nice hatch and sight details. The hatch near the remote-controlled MG mount is moulded open, so you can model this with a figure if you wish. The kit includes both open and closed hatch options for this part. The other opening is for an engine hatch which has the exhaust and some spare track. I'm guessing this is moulded as a separate part to get a better rendering of the cylindrical exhaust manifold. The lower hull piece has mounting holes for the track parts. These are identically keyed, so again it would be possible to mount the tracks backwards. Remember, sprockets to the front, idler to the rear. This is the remote MG, which is moulded integral with the gun shield. This should make it a strong part. The main gun here is the Pak-39L48 7.5cm gun, moulded integral with the rounded Saukopf gun mantlet. The other gun is the flamethrower. About 50 Hetzers were completed as the flamethrower variant. The barrel is actually only a protective shroud over the much thinner flamethrower apparatus. So that's all the parts for the Marder IIIM and the Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzer. The parts look great, and there's some really nice engineering apparent here. These should build up fine. It's a shame there's only one set of tracks. I understand the economics of designing it this way, otherwise it would be a 10-vehicle box, not a 5. But it's so close to being able to build both the Marder and the Hetzer from this sprue. So how will the Hetzer work on the table? Here's the Hetzer Tank Hunter card. Remember, you'll have to buy the Bagration Unit card pack to get this. Hetzer is a tank unit with the Stormtrooper's special rule. Stormtrooper allows units to attempt a second movement order if the first one they perform succeeds. This can be particularly useful for ambushing, as German units can pop out of and back into cover. But if they fail either move, it can leave them exposed. Motivation is a confident 4+, although it does get the SP gun counterattack of 5+ and the last stand of 3+. These are disciplined German troops fighting honour inside their own borders at this stage of the war. They're less likely to run, but an SP anti-tank gun isn't built for close assault. They're more likely to break off and move back for another ambush somewhere. They're trained with a 4+ skill, but again a 5 in assault. They're careful being hit on a 4+. Pretty standard for German troops. Front armour is 7, side and rear is 3, and top is 1. Most Allied guns can penetrate this, and you should keep your flanks clear. These are for shooting from cover, not going toe-to-toe with real tanks. Tactical move is 10 inches or 25 centimetres, with OK dash speeds but a 5+ cross. The 1930s era suspension inherited from the Panzer 38T doesn't handle rough going. The 7.5cm gun has a 32-inch or 80cm range, with a halted rate of fire of 2 or moving of 1. Frankly, given the internal layout of this vehicle where the loader is on the wrong side of the gun, that's pretty generous. Anti-tank is 11 with a 3+ firepower. Again, the ammunition is the same as the Pak-40, still with enough punch to take on most Allied tanks. The special rules are forward firing and overworked. Like all SP guns with limited traverse, the forward firing rule means Hetzer can only fire at units fully in front of its hull. The poor internal layout is reflected in the overworked rule. Overworked units add +1 to the score needed to hit when firing on the move. The Hetzers machine gun has a 16-inch range with a moving and halted rate of fire of 2. I'm guessing the lower halted rate of fire reflects the remote mount. Anti-tank is 2 with a 6 firepower. If you're really into Hetzers, you can field a Hetzer tank hunter company. This has a HQ of 2 tank hunters and up to 3 platoons of 3 to 4 Hetzers. 3 Hetzers are 12 points while 4 is 16. There aren't any other organic units in this company. However, you're more likely to want some Hetzers in support. They aren't available in divisional support, but they are a formation support choice. You can choose a single platoon of Hetzers, again at 12 points for 3 or 16 points for 4. Marders are the same unit cost with 1 additional point of AT but almost no armour. However, these are divisional support and you can choose up to 2 platoons of them if you want. This makes Hetzers and Marders cheaper alternative to Stugs, which weigh in at over 5 points each. I was surprised at how many Hetzers were actually built. This makes them a not uncommon sight on the battlefield and a nice alternative to Stugs. So that's the Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzer tank destroyer for Bagration German forces. This is a much awaited and lovely little kit. It's up to Battlefront's usual standard with some nice engineering. Parts count is low, it should build up fairly quickly. Again, it is frustrating to get just the one set of tracks. It would be nice to be able to build the Marder and Hetzer, but I understand the economics behind Battlefront's choice here. The more puzzling omission is the lack of unit cards. This looks like this is going to be Battlefront's policy from now on, but it makes the box set seem incomplete to me. I did send Battlefront a few emails about this asking for comment, but had no reply. Do you plan on fielding Hetzers, or do you want some Marders or even flamethrowers? How will you plan to use them in your German forces? What do you think about Battlefront not including unit cards in box sets in future? Is that an issue, or do you usually buy the unit card set anyway? Thanks again to the Restless Kaiser and Modelling for Advantage for kindly supplying this sprue for review. Without that channel's generous support, I wouldn't be able to review these kits for you. Check out their content. It even includes a ridiculous short D&D livestream with me as DM. It might be good for a laugh. See you next time.